If you've been blocked from experiencing orgasmic bliss, stay tuned for part 2 of the twin flame sexual healing that I've broken down into 2 parts in order to deliver this very deep and urgent message from the universe that is preventing you from having the connection that you want at the level you desire. Let's go. Back to, we got to heal the wounds of the womb. That in this place of the wounds of the womb, what I really mean by that is that we've had a lot of sexual abuse and a lot of sexual violence that has caused emotional detachment and even down to a feeling of not wanting to be touched on so many levels, and down to people putting on weight and holding in this side of themselves that they don't want to be seen, and that they feel dirty, and that they feel victimized, and that, think about that as sodomy and child molestation, and, as in rape. And even the other thing, and all of these things I'm going to share with you, it might be this lifetime, or it could be a last lifetime, or another lifetime, really, any lifetime. So I guarantee you, in some lifetime or another, we've all been raped. I want you to think about this. There's sexual slavery that still exists from the slavery days of, you've heard about being taken out behind the wood pile or the woodshed and being abused sexually, where the masters would, abuse their slaves. And, in one way or another, this has still been bonded in us. So these things I'm going to share with you today, they might trigger something in you that could be from this lifetime, but they might also trigger a link of why you feel the way you do that's connected to a past lifetime that you need to clear in order to be free in this lifetime to experience your greatest potential, your greatest sexual potential, for your greatest energy and connection to your highest form of pleasure. So we need to heal this womb. And one of the biggest things I've been doing with clients for this is 2 really big things. Doing energetic cord cutting within the womb itself. Literally going into the womb and clearing and cleansing that womb to where it's helping to release the cords that's been attached, down to abortions and anything else that's linked to sex. Like I said, so there could be sexual things that are outside, such as, let's say, an abortion or self-abort. And think about, we have abortion centers now, but, back in the day, some day or other lifetimes ago, we may not have. So therefore, that's left scar tissue. And when I do this and I read the energy of that, I can not only read what that is, where it's coming from, I feel and see the scar tissue. And a lot of times, most of the time, whenever I feel and see this, and what comes through for me as I read that and I share that with the client, they're on the back end of that, have something in this life that attaches to it. So you need to make sure you're doing cord cutting in that womb space, in the uterus, basically. But in addition to that, even down to the vagina, the entry point, the cervix, all of these areas can have energetic attachments there of wounds of these things, and it needs to be energetically cleared out. So you need to focus on this. And if you're not feeling sexual pleasure, or say you're feeling pain on stimulation, then there are such things as what I've been shown is a Yoni Awakening that helps you go in with, for instance, there's what's called a Serpent Wand that you can go in and do trigger point therapy within the vagina and the cervix in order to clear that. It's just like if you get a trigger point on your arm or your muscle, your back, and it's tying it up and knotted up, and there's a lot of congestion and toxic energy that's stuck there. It can be in those areas too. And it's about releasing that so that you can let go of that pain. And that's why also when it comes to lovemaking, a woman can experience, especially a woman, not that a man can't either, but because of the entryway, they can experience pain upon intercourse, as well as feelings of crying, laughing, pain, all the above, because these emotions are stored in those spaces. So healing your womb needs to be taking place. And I will make sure to put some links to some videos out there that I've used for clients to share with on a Yoni Awakening, how to stimulate your yoni. Again, that's your vagina, and to be able to heal with such things as yoni eggs, to learn how to create a awakening for this power there in the yoni, to be able to experience more pleasure, really, and whatnot is what I'm saying. So let's move on to number 2, and that is addictions. So we are clearing addictions. And in the addictions, what we're clearing, some of the biggest ones is, and I will say sexual addictions, here's what I kind of should say. But I want you to know any addiction can link to and be triggered by sexual addiction, is in the exact same process. Because what a lot of times I see with like the divine masculine here, they carry a lot of the addictions more than the divine feminine. So basically, one thing I will tell you is the divine feminine carries more of these womb healing, these wounds that I'm talking about, than the masculine. But from the divine masculine standpoint, it tends to be that they need the bubble love. They need the high and the low. They need the chase of the next fix, no different than heroin. And keep in mind that sex is like heroin, because it will produce that orgasmic love and bliss, will produce endorphins in the brain and hormones. That's why, like, when you have a very healthy sex life and you are really like in a place of orgasmically connected, then it will literally secrete these hormones that will give you a youthful appearance, a glow. And it really does. It's real. It's very real. So that's one reason why a lot of the divine masculine are connected to this chemical attraction that says they need that physical connection on a level that says, I need fireworks, sparks, flames. I need to feel like that, only physical attraction. Now, I'm not going to say you can't have that with your twin flame, but you also, in parallel to that, need your spiritual connection to tap into your highest orgasmic connection. And if you are only experiencing the physical appearance, that's one of the reasons why you're getting the bubble love that's so magnetic, so spark, so take you up to connect and merge on a level that then has to go in separation for you to go within yourself to find you. But in these addictions, not only is it physical appearance, physical attraction, there are things like such things as porn and sadistic type sexual connections, compulsive behaviors of, public sex, or I'm not even going to say there's anything wrong with any of some of that. Remember, it's an addiction, meaning it doesn't mean any one of those things is necessarily wrong. It means, do you need those things to get stimulated, so to speak? Do you have to wake up and drink your coffee in the morning? Or can you wake up in the morning feeling like vibrant and good and healthy and like connected, right? So if you're not, already connected into these things, you're needing these stimulations that can become conditions, or addictions that cause you to block yourself. So that's another thing about that. Who's to say porn is necessarily wrong? Okay, because that goes back to like a programming, but is it used as the need to be able to get yourself stimulated, or is it to just enhance where you already are, so to speak? Okay, so you kind of see what I'm saying now? So number 3, being open to receive, which is technically is being able to express yourself sexually, or sexual expression at your fullest capacity. This is something that, again, takes learning about your own self, your own yoni, your own penis, your own connection to you in a way that you are open, willing, and ready to be seen to the level of your soul of this orgasmic, blissful energy that is your greatest potential. And, you know, that's another reason why eye gazing is so big, especially with twin flames during the sexual act, is because that's the windows to the soul. And, you know, not only do you align in all your chakras whenever you fully connect in your highest potential of a sexual connection with your highest partner of where that time frame is, but being able to add eye gazing to that is very important because, you know, look at some people just have, in general, they have a block in being able to visually look at each other. Right? Or say you get eye connect with somebody so long and then you tap in and it's for a split second and then one of you can be like, oh, that's too much. And you feel that being seen. You feel them seeing all the way through you, and it can tap into these vulnerable states. So the goal in this, the more you know how to sexually express and know yourself sexually, the more open to receive you're going to become to connect with somebody on that level. That is the key point here as to why I'm said being open to receive. If you don't know how to sexually express, if you don't know how to moan, if you don't know how to allow yourself to go through it through a place of femininity and sensuality and taking it in, you're then blocking that energy that's trying to come in, you know, and a lot of times people will also hold back on this ability to these things and to express verbally. So, you know, this is so important. So a lot of times when I work with clients, I teach them through the act of lovemaking and through orgasmic connection to be able to connect the throat chakra and to be able to express themselves verbally out loud on every level in order to be able to really heighten the sensory connection that we have as twin flames, the ability to experience this lovemaking. And it's a beautiful thing when you can really be that in tune with yourself. Number 4, shame and guilt. Ooh, is this a big one? And this is a big one I've been seeing coming through a lot lately. So if you're experiencing shame and guilt for receiving money, it's probably because you were a prostitute somewhere along your journey. Prostitution is a really big one that's being cleared right now through what I'm being shown is the temples of Isis, all the way back to the Egyptian days, where it was considered prostitution to exchange this kind of energy and in the form of this kind of pleasure. So it was hidden. But it was what was needed to activate all the divine wisdom that comes from Egypt. So everything that we have from the Egyptian standpoint all comes based on the orgasmic bliss of what I call Egyptian ecstasy. For you to tap into this Egyptian ecstasy, you truly have to let go of the shame and guilt wrapped around your ability to experience of giving and receiving lovemaking. Now, I'm going to tell you another one that's a big one that's connected also to prostitution is the geisha from the Asian background. The geisha was a very high, how do I say high? A very glamorous position as a prostitute. And in that day, time, and air, what they would do to the geishas, they would also do what's called foot binding. And they would break their feet and they'd wrap them up and they'd scrunch them down. And I got to tell you, over the last 3 or 4 years, I've saw and experienced a lot of clients and they've been coming through more recently as I've seen the sexual healing take place. This foot binding then is where they break your feet when you're small, they wrap your feet up, and people now are experiencing foot pain, which is having trouble to go forward in life, and especially with your purpose, because of the connection to that pleasure, passion, finances, all of that's blocking you potentially from going forward in your mission. And so if you have a lot of foot pain, you might want to consider working on releasing those attachments potentially to foot binding. The other thing we're in that is all of this is releasing, as I've said this, but the shame and guilt of the programming of sex and the guilt, a lot of guilt around, as I said, receiving pleasure. So that's number 4. Number 5. Oh, this is a good one. Religious and cultural limitations. We got to remove the religious and cultural limitations. You know, religion and culture, well, religion period is, you know, sex is a dirty deed. And down to the fact that in some cultures that, you know, I don't think they do this anymore, but they would chastise or, well, let me take a better word to that, castrate a woman and cut out her clitoris. Now, I have actually worked with clients to remove those energetic cords that are attached to this, and it can cause some pain in the stimulation of your clitoris that can create pain, where it's like, instead of pleasure, it hurts. And one of the things I will tell you that I have recommended to clients for that is to use coconut oil and to, just like you'd massage your back, to massage that space on a regular basis so that you're like breaking up that energy attachment that's stuck there that could be blocking you from experiencing pleasure and stimulation that's other than pain, you know, because it can be painful, as I said. The other thing that I mentioned this, but, you know, that no sex before marriage, right? That it's a sin. And, you know, I grew up in a household of that. And it put a lot of limitations on my belief system based on that. Not to mention same-sex marriages from both religion and culture. And when I say culture, I mean like cultural conditions of, you know, pre-arranged marriages type thing. Like the soul doesn't get to choose. Here's another really key point in this I want you to know. When it comes to your beloved and love making and connecting to your highest divine partner, the soul knows no limitations. So even down to the same sexual connection, you know, that limitation could be blocking you from receiving your highest ability to experience love or lovemaking. So another thing in the karmic vows that's taken place is karmic vows to celibacy and chastity that's built around the religious belief systems. And we see this a lot with Catholics. And then on addition to that, see how on the back side of that, more reportings of priests that have sodomized young boys, right? And then the nuns. You know, I tell my clients, if you've been a nun in a past life, you ain't getting none. So if you ain't getting none, you better clear your past life to being a nun, because that will still get you none. And I'm being very serious. We could joke, laugh about that as a, you know, a humorous way, but this is not a funny manner by no means. But it is something that, and so it's very serious. But on the other side of that, you know, I want to make this light for you because this is something that you're not going to necessarily hear everywhere. But for your twin flame journey, for you to connect to your greatest self for expression and passion and pleasure, and to have purpose and to have this partner that you want at the greatest capacity of love and love making, up to your best and greatest ability, you've got to deal with these things. And this is one of the ones we've been running from. And this is why I know it's so deep and it's still there. And this is what needs work done right now for us to go forward in this new earth heart language, to be able to love what we do, love what we experience, and experience this pleasure. Got to heal this, folks. Got to heal. You know, down to even like, think about even a dirty deed and sin. Even in the religious cultures, you can't masturbate, right? Therefore, it's set people up to a lot of shame and guilt to even express in the privacy of their own bed and bedroom alone. Now tell me there's not something to that. And I'll be honest, I've been one of those. I really have. And that also connects to like something I want to say about the porn that was actually brought up to me by a client. You know who you are, and thank you too. That, you know, when we go back to the dates of ISIS, and it was group lovemaking, and people were watching, and this still happens now. Like in Europe, there's live sex shows that you go to a place, and instead of like watching porn, it's like live porn. Well, back in that day, that existed too. And so the connection to porn and stimulation is also triggering those live episodes of being watched in the act of sex by needing to watch sex in the act, even to get stimulated. Or maybe you were the watcher or the being watched. Either or could be both. But it was happening in the temples of Isis too. So, now, let's move on to sexuality. This is a big one. You know, we need to heal this concept and the idea of same-sex relationships. You know, people are being stereotyped, people are being classified, people have been set up to want to hide. How many of you out there are in a place of being lesbian, bisexual, all these pieces, but you don't want to share with anyone, especially your family, because of judgment, right? This is a big block. I see this a lot. I've even been put in my own unfolding of transformation to unfold this, see this, and understand this, to question my own sexuality. And so there's more that I'm actually writing about this, because it feels almost like a science project, honestly. But I see it all, and I understand it all. And there's a lot of things that make sense about it that I would never see otherwise. And also, of course, I would choose to kind of learn that experience. And the reason I would choose to learn that experience is because I go out and teach it. And if I didn't see it from every angle, I wouldn't know how to share it on the level. And I say, if you follow me, if I talk the talk, I walk the walk. So I can promise you, when it comes to that, when I say be open to everything and attached to nothing, you really got to do that. You might be someone that is ready to experience love, but you're got yourself conditioned to certain parts of things of, you know, age specific, gender specific, and the list could really just go on and on with that, you know. But like, kind of like, we're moving to a place of, let's remove the label, and then let's not stereotype or judge whether you are looking for a sacred sexual experience of your one divine partner or you're polyamorous. Like, you might even be polyamorous and having those feelings, but think you're wrong and telling yourself you're wrong for feeling that way and setting it up for shame and guilt, which is triggering you to release something. But remember, we are opening up all sides of ourselves. So we need to open up all of us. To open up all of us, we have to come in acceptance with all of this. And I got to tell you too, like, I've had multiple people coming to me recently, primarily women, that have came to me and they are experiencing this transformational thing of other women showing up in their life and going, you know, I've never thought about a woman. I'm not lesbian. I'm not gay. But like, now I'm having this connection with this woman, and like, I don't even know what to do about it. And I'm married. And so I'm seeing this more than once. And I think this is becoming a big thing for a lot of women right now. And that's one reason why I think that it's needing to be talked about. Because I think there's probably a lot of you out there that's experiencing this, because I see people coming to me saying this, that they're ashamed of it. They don't even know what's happening to them. And I want to tell you part of why. what have we been saying? We're moving into the feminine power, right? The sensuality, the sexuality, the ability to create and have passion and come into our feminine side. So while you might think that to become feminine, it's going to take a really strong masculine, if you carry a lot of masculine energy, it's quite the opposite. You might just find yourself becoming a woman by experiencing a woman. Just is. Just might be. So there's where, if you've limited yourself, even in just the thought, and let me tell you something else about that. When it comes to these lessons, we don't always have to follow through, but we have to reach a place that says we're going to remove the resistance, we're going to remove the limitation, and we're going to be really, truly open to everything and attached to nothing as far as, outcomes or other pieces. And so, again, the soul knows no limitations. So you just really need to open up. And so we're really healing. I'm going to go through the 6 things again, where we need to heal the wounds of the womb. We need to clear the sexual addictions. We need to be open to receive so that we can connect ourselves in full expression, sexual expression within our own raw, real, vulnerable state. We need to release the shame and the guilt. We need to clear and cleanse the religious, cultural conditions and limitations. And we need to be able to, in all of this, create this healthy relationship with ourselves and use all these pieces to connect with our own sexuality, being open to love, saying we're not going to put a limitation on that regardless of these age, sex, gender, I said sex, sexual orientation, all those pieces. And I've even seen, honestly, I've had in the past few months, Divine Masculine cross my path that says, I've been gay for 30 years and now I like women. So it's not even about anymore being labeled as, heterosexual, bisexual, lesbian, being queer, gay, all these things. It's really coming into a place of allowing yourself to be who you are and whatever the phases of your journey are, and accepting all of you, all of what you came here and signed up to experience with all that is, so that you can now become more open to receive, which will create more sensual, sexual expression for yourself. And so, again, I want to recap the point of this. So the point of this is to create this healthy sex life that will help you to heal from all of these things that have been blocking you from experiencing true love, true pleasure, true passion, true creativity to your highest potential, and unlocking all of that to bring it into form so that you can create, have passion, experience pleasure, and in that fully be able to express yourself. So I would recommend, if you're having some of these areas, that you do some of the things I've mentioned that come out, and clear even your sacral chakra is a very good one. Clear your heart chakra of these cords of attachment, even down to knowing that the stimulation, that if you're having trouble communicating or expressing and having a lot of throat chakra issues, you might just need to wake up your sexual energy through voice and sound to clear this layer of the throat chakra clearing. And I probably had that earlier to be able to even say that. And so, with that, that's funny. Here it comes again. That's so funny. It's an epidemic, folks, what I'm talking about here. And so we need to, remove this karma. We need to change our past programming. We need to be able to talk about it, right? We need to talk about it. We need to get it out in the open so we can have a reward and have sacred sexual experience and pleasure to its greatest ability. So if you need to clear some of this, I'd highly recommend you check out the link below to finish your karmic contract that could have you connected to some of these, because in that I discuss clearing out your karmic vows, contracts, cutting energetic cords of attachment, and cleansing and clearing energetic blocks that are connected to these exact things that I'm talking about. It's huge, 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 huge. And from there, as far as what you desire to create will come out of this, which I also have a link to, you know, the desire of what you want to create. So let's just say this. In a relationship with this, you know, maybe you need to get clear on your ability to be open for the type of relationship you want, coming from a place of true, authentic, unconditional love, and remove all the limitations you have around it, down to one person being the only person that you can be happy with. Okay? So check out all the resources. May you always face your fears, find freedom, and make sure to like, comment, share the shine, subscribe, hit the notification button. And I send you so much love and so much passion and so much ability to connect to your highest orgasmic bliss. Namaste.